In a small, ancient village, nestled between rolling hills and lush forests, there lived a wise monk. This monk was renowned for his deep understanding of Buddhist teachings and his extraordinary ability to discern the thoughts and emotions of others. His wisdom and compassion were well known, and people from distant lands journeyed to seek his guidance and insight. The monk resided in a modest temple on the outskirts of the village, surrounded by serene gardens and tranquil streams. The temple was a place of peace and reflection, where villagers often came to meditate, seek solace, and listen to the monk's teachings. Despite his humble abode, the monk's reputation as a master of both the Dharma and the human mind attracted a steady stream of visitors. Among these visitors were farmers seeking advice on their crops, merchants looking for guidance in their trade, and families hoping for blessings and counsel. The monk welcomed everyone with open arms, offering wisdom that was both profound and practical. His teachings emphasized mindfulness, compassion, and the importance of living in the present moment. A diligent farmer named Jiro lived in the village, and his livelihood depended on the crops he grew in his fields. However, his fields were constantly being ravaged by wild boars. The boars trampled his crops, uprooted his plants, and left a trail of destruction behind them. No matter what measures Jiro took, the wild boars always found a way to wreak havoc on his land. His frustration grew with each passing day as he watched his hard work being undone by these relentless animals. Desperate and at his wits' end, Jiro decided to seek the counsel of the wise monk. He had heard countless tales of the monk's wisdom and hoped that the monk could offer a solution to his seemingly insurmountable problem. One morning, with a heavy heart and a glimmer of hope, Jiro made his way to the temple. Upon arriving, Jiro found the monk seated under a large Bodhi tree, meditating in serene stillness. After respectfully waiting for the monk to finish, Jiro approached and humbly bowed before him. "Wise monk," he began, "I am in great distress. My fields are being destroyed by wild boars, and I'm unable to protect my crops. I have tried everything I know, but nothing works. Please, can you help me find a solution?" The monk opened his eyes and looked at Jiro with compassion. He listened intently as Jiro poured out his troubles, nodding thoughtfully as he took in every detail. When Jiro finished, the monk remained silent for a moment, reflecting on the best course of action. Finally, the monk spoke, his voice calm and reassuring. "Jiro, your plight is indeed challenging, but sometimes the most effective solutions are those that come from thinking differently. I have a suggestion that may seem unusual, but it has the potential to protect your fields from the wild boars." Intrigued and eager to hear the monk's advice, Jiro leaned in closer. The monk continued, "Build a small hut at the edge of your fields. Inside this hut, you will sit and meditate. When you hear the wild boars approaching, you will shout loudly and make noise to scare them away. This way, you can protect your crops without harming the animals." Jiro was puzzled at first. "But wise monk," he said, "how can sitting in a hut and shouting be more effective than the barriers and traps I have set up?" The monk smiled gently. "Sometimes, Jiro, the power of presence and sound can achieve what physical barriers cannot. Trust in this method and see what happens." With a newfound sense of hope, Jiro thanked the monk and hurried back to his fields. He built a small hut, just as the monk had suggested, and began his vigil, ready to protect his crops with a shout and a prayer. Little did he know that this simple act would not only safeguard his livelihood, but also set the stage for deeper lessons in understanding the human mind and spirit. One day, while Jiro was meditating in the small hut by his fields, he heard the rustling of leaves and the sound of something moving through the underbrush. He looked up to see an injured wild boar stumbling into the field. Its leg was wounded, and it moved with a noticeable limp. Remembering the monk's advice, Jiro stood up and began to shout loudly, waving his arms to create as much noise as possible. The startled boar turned and fled back into the forest, away from the precious crops. Not long after, a commotion arose at the edge of the field. Jiro saw a group of riders approaching, led by the king himself, who was out on a hunting expedition. The king, a tall and imposing figure, reined in his horse and dismounted, looking around with a determined expression. He approached Jiro, who was still standing near the hut, his breath heavy from the exertion of scaring away the boar. "You there?" the king called out. "Have you seen a wild boar pass through here? It is injured, and I have been chasing it for some time." Jiro bowed respectfully before answering. "Your Majesty, I did see an injured boar enter my field. I frightened it away just moments ago." The king looked intrigued. In which direction did it go? Jiro hesitated, remembering the monk's wisdom, and then spoke carefully. "Your Majesty, if I may, the boar you are chasing is not worth your pursuit. It is a pregnant sow, injured and desperate. I believe it would be best to let her go." The king's eyes widened in surprise at Jiro's words. "How can you be certain of this?" he demanded. "Are you trying to deceive me?" Jiro shook his head. "No, Your Majesty, I am only repeating what the wise monk has taught me. He has a deep understanding of such matters, and I trust his wisdom." The king was both curious and skeptical. He turned to his commander and ordered, "Go and verify this man's claim. Find the boar and see if it is indeed pregnant." The commander and his men set off into the forest, following the trail of the injured boar. After some time they returned, confirming that the boar was indeed a pregnant sow, just as Jiro had said. The king was astonished by this revelation. He looked at Jiro with newfound respect and curiosity. "Who is this monk you speak of?" the king asked. "How could he have known such a thing without even seeing the boar?" Jiro smiled, feeling a sense of pride in the monk's wisdom. "Your Majesty, the monk is a man of great insight and understanding. His teachings go beyond what the eyes can see. He has the ability to perceive the truth through observation and intuition." The king nodded thoughtfully. "I must meet this monk and learn from him. If his wisdom is as profound as you say, then he may have much to teach me." With that, the king and his entourage departed, leaving Jiro with a sense of gratitude and awe for the monk's deep understanding. Little did Jiro know that this encounter would lead to greater revelations about the power of mindfulness and the art of understanding the human mind and heart. The king, intrigued by the monk's seemingly supernatural insight, decided to visit the temple himself. Accompanied by a small retinue, he rode to the outskirts of the village where the monk resided. As he approached the serene temple grounds, he felt a sense of calm wash over him, contrasting with the bustling court life he was used to. The monk greeted the king with a serene smile and a deep bow. "Welcome, Your Majesty. How may I assist you today?" The king, ever direct, wasted no time. "I have heard of your wisdom and your ability to discern truths hidden from ordinary eyes. I witnessed it firsthand when you correctly identified the pregnant boar. I must know, how do you possess such knowledge? How can you understand what others cannot see?" The monk gestured for the king to sit on a wooden bench under the shade of a large tree. As they both settled down, the monk began to explain. "Your Majesty, the ability to understand others is not a supernatural gift, but a skill that can be cultivated. It begins with mindfulness and the art of observation." The king listened intently as the monk continued. "There are 3 primary ways to discern the thoughts and feelings of others: observing the eyes, understanding facial expressions, and interpreting body language." The king, eager to learn more, asked the monk to elaborate on the techniques he had mentioned earlier. The monk nodded and began to explain in greater detail. "The eyes, Your Majesty," the monk began, "are indeed the windows to the soul. Through the eyes one can gain insight into a person's emotions and thoughts. For instance, when someone is speaking to you, pay close attention to their gaze. If they maintain direct eye contact, it often indicates honesty and engagement. However, if their eyes frequently dart around or avoid meeting yours, it may suggest discomfort, fear, or even deceit." The monk continued, Consider a situation where you are questioning someone about an important matter. If their eyes shift rapidly and they seem unable to focus on you, it could be a sign that they are hiding something. On the other hand, eyes that remain steady and focused typically belong to someone who is confident and truthful. Additionally, the dilation of pupils can indicate interest or excitement, while constricted pupils may suggest anger or suspicion. Facial expressions, the monk said, are another powerful tool for understanding the mind. The face can convey a wide range of emotions through subtle changes in muscle movement. For example, a genuine smile engages the muscles around the eyes, causing crow's feet to appear. This is a clear indicator of true happiness or pleasure. In contrast, a forced smile that only involves the mouth may signify politeness or insincerity. The monk pointed out other facial cues. When someone's eyebrows draw together and create deep lines on their forehead, it often indicates worry, confusion, or deep concentration. Similarly, a furrowed brow paired with tightly pressed lips might suggest anger or frustration. By observing these details, you can gain a deeper understanding of what a person is feeling inside. He gave an example. Imagine you are speaking to a minister about a new policy. If his eyebrows are raised and his eyes widen, it may show surprise or curiosity. However, if his mouth tightens and his forehead wrinkles, he may be skeptical or worried about the implications of the policy. Lastly, the monk said, we come to body language. A person's posture, gestures, and movements can reveal much about their inner state. For instance, crossed arms can be a defensive gesture, indicating that the person is closed off or resistant to what is being said. Conversely, someone who leans forward and keeps their arms open is likely interested and receptive. The monk continued, hand gestures also play a crucial role. When people are nervous or anxious, they may fidget, tap their fingers, or play with objects. These actions reveal their discomfort or impatience. On the other hand, confident individuals often use open and expansive gestures, indicating their ease and authority. He provided an example. Consider a situation where you are negotiating with a foreign diplomat. If he frequently touches his face, such as rubbing his chin or covering his mouth, it could indicate that he is pondering deeply or hiding something. If he leans back and crosses his legs, he might be signaling a relaxed but defensive stance. However, if he mirrors your gestures and leans forward, it suggests he is engaged and willing to find common ground. The monk concluded, by paying attention to these non-verbal cues, eye movements, facial expressions, and body language, you can develop a keen sense of what others are thinking and feeling. This understanding allows you to respond with greater empathy and insight, fostering better communication and stronger relationships. The king listened intently, absorbing the monk's teachings. He realized that these skills could not only help him in matters of state, but also in his personal life, improving his interactions with his family, friends, and subjects. With gratitude and determination, the king vowed to practice these techniques, seeking to become a more mindful and compassionate ruler. As the king pondered the 3 techniques the monk had shared, he realized that there was a deeper layer to the monk's wisdom. The monk sensed the king's contemplation and decided to impart the core of his teachings, which lay in the heart of Buddhist philosophy. Your Majesty, the monk began, understanding others is rooted in understanding oneself. To truly discern the thoughts and feelings of others, one must first cultivate mindfulness and live fully in the present moment. This practice not only sharpens our perception, but also purifies our mind and enhances our self-awareness. The king looked intrigued. How can I achieve this state of mindfulness, wise monk? What practices should I follow? The monk smiled and continued, the path to mindfulness and self-awareness is through meditation and the practice of Buddhist teachings. Meditation helps quiet the mind, allowing us to focus our attention on the here and now. When we meditate, we learn to observe our thoughts without judgment, letting them come and go like clouds passing through the sky. He explained further, begin with simple breathing exercises. Sit in a quiet place, close your eyes, and focus on your breath. Notice the sensation of the air entering and leaving your body. If your mind starts to wander, gently bring your focus back to your breath. This practice trains your mind to stay present and attentive. The monk then spoke about the teachings of the Dharma. Buddhist teachings guide us to live with compassion, patience, and wisdom. By embracing these principles, we learn to let go of distractions and judgments that cloud our perception. The Four Noble Truths and the Noble Eightfold Path offer a roadmap to enlightenment, helping us understand the nature of suffering and the path to its cessation. He continued, when we purify our mind through meditation and follow the Dharma, we become more attuned to the subtle cues that reveal others' thoughts and emotions. Our enhanced self-awareness allows us to empathize deeply with others, seeing beyond their words and actions to understand their true intentions and feelings. The monk shared a story to illustrate his point. There was once a young monk who struggled to connect with his fellow practitioners. Despite his best efforts, he often felt isolated and misunderstood. One day, his master advised him to spend more time in meditation and to reflect on the teachings of the Buddha. The young monk followed this advice diligently. Over time, as he meditated and embraced the Dharma, he noticed a profound change. He became more present, more compassionate, and more understanding. He could sense the unspoken needs and concerns of his fellow monks, and his relationships blossomed. The king listened with rapt attention, feeling the weight of the monk's words. He realized that the key to becoming a better ruler and a better person lay in cultivating mindfulness and living in accordance with Buddhist wisdom. "Thank you, wise monk," the king said with deep gratitude. "I will commit to practicing meditation and studying the Dharma. I will strive to purify my mind and enhance my self-awareness, so that I may understand and serve my people better." The monk nodded approvingly. "Your Majesty, by embracing mindfulness and the teachings of the Buddha, you will not only become a more compassionate and insightful ruler, but also find inner peace and fulfillment. Remember, the journey of self-discovery and understanding is ongoing. Continue to practice, and the wisdom you seek will unfold naturally." With a heart full of determination and a mind open to the path of mindfulness, the king left the temple, ready to embark on a new journey of self-discovery and enlightened leadership. The monk's teachings resonated deeply within him, setting the stage for a reign marked by empathy, wisdom, and profound understanding. The king, having deeply absorbed the monk's wisdom, returned to his palace with a renewed sense of purpose. He resolved to apply the techniques of understanding others, observing the eyes, interpreting facial expressions, and reading body language. In his governance and interactions with his subjects, moreover, he committed to practicing mindfulness and meditation, as the monk had advised, to enhance his self-awareness and compassion. In the days that followed, the king began to implement these teachings in his daily life. During court sessions, he paid close attention to the eyes and expressions of his ministers and advisors, discerning their true intentions and emotions. In his interactions with the people, he observed their body language, gaining a deeper understanding of their needs and concerns. His newfound ability to connect with others on a more profound level earned him respect and admiration from all who met him. The king also encouraged his courtiers and officials to embrace these techniques. He held regular meditation sessions in the palace and invited the monk to teach the principles of mindfulness and compassionate leadership. The courtiers, initially skeptical, soon found themselves inspired by the king's transformation and the monk's teachings. They too began to practice mindfulness and apply the techniques of understanding in their roles. As the king's wisdom spread throughout the kingdom, a noticeable change began to take place. The people, inspired by their ruler's example, started to cultivate mindfulness in their own lives. Farmers, merchants, artisans, and scholars all embraced the practice of observing, understanding, and empathizing with others. Conflicts were resolved more peacefully, and communities became more harmonious. The monks' wisdom and methods became a cornerstone of the kingdom's culture. Schools incorporated lessons on mindfulness and compassionate communication into their curricula. Families practiced meditation together, finding greater peace and understanding in their homes. The kingdom flourished as a place where empathy and wisdom were valued above all else. The king, now a beacon of enlightened leadership, continued to seek the monks' guidance. He visited the temple regularly, not only to learn, but also to offer his gratitude for the profound impact the monks' teachings had on his life and kingdom. The monk, always humble, reminded the king that the journey of self-discovery and understanding was ongoing and encouraged him to continue practicing and spreading the Dharma. In time, the kingdom became renowned far and wide for its harmony and enlightened governance. Other rulers sought to learn from the king's example, and the monks' teachings spread beyond the borders of the kingdom, touching the hearts and minds of people in distant lands. The story of the wise monk and the king became a cherished legend, passed down through generations. It served as a reminder that true wisdom and understanding come from within, and that by cultivating mindfulness, compassion, and self-awareness, anyone could lead a life of profound connection and harmony. And so, the monk's legacy lived on, a testament to the transformative power of mindfulness and the timeless wisdom of the Buddha's teachings.